Ira mana, yangara yara mangara nedamja, garodala yala dadira mara yanga yara urema. In my grandfather's traditional language, the word Yiramana is a greeting. It means my name is. Yangara Yiramangara Nedamja is my Aboriginal name on my father's community. Gilodalayala Dadirama Yanga Yara Wirima means come walk across this beautiful country with me and see with Wirima, our eyes and what they see.
My mum had met my dad when she was doing her working up in Queensland in her hospital. She was training to be a nurse, to training to be a midwife, and she'd met my father up there, and they'd had a brief relationship. With that, Mum had fallen pregnant. When she told Dad that she was pregnant, Dad then, pretty much the next day, Mum said he just disappeared. He didn't come home from work, and Mum never ever saw him again after that. And so Mum had come down to Sydney again to be with her family and to sort of raise me up with a little bit more of her family support. And later met my stepfather, who ultimately was the one who raised me up. And
just quickly, hands up. Who in the room has had a go trying to blow a didgeridoo before? Hands up, don't be shy. A couple of us. Hands up who's never had a go, never in your life. Excellent. Hands up if you have no idea what I'm saying.
Mum didn't tell me who my real father was because she didn't know where he was. She didn't know anything about, his family. And so I'd found out that my dad raising me wasn't my real dad, and then started fighting the rejection demons of, well, where do I belong? Who is my real family and father, and those sort of things.
So you can see its lips vibrating. Get the didgeridoo to work. Tongue and stomach generates rhythm. Tongue and voice creates all the animal sounds.
I mean, life at that stage at 16 was in all sorts of trouble. Like I'd just been sentenced to 9 months in a juvenile correctional centre. About 3 weeks into it, the Aboriginal liaison officer who worked in the facility, Pauline, she asked me who my father was, and I said, well, I don't know my real father, and I don't know what nationality he is, but a lot of people assume that he's Maori, and Pauline said to me pretty straight, she goes, I bet you he's not. She goes, I pretty much will bet your sentence that your father's Aboriginal. And I was pretty blown away by that because it had never really been something that I'd thought about at all. And when Mum and Dad came to visit me the following weekend, I asked Mum, I said, I really need to know who my father is, where he was from, and I need to know something about it to help me understand a bit of an identity for myself. And on that weekend, Mum told me that my dad was Aboriginal. And
kangaroo, lips vibrate, and tongue says 2 words. Everyone say, door, door, door. Excellent, so easy. Everyone say, dill, dill, dill. Wonderful, now say it with your lips vibrating. So it sounds like this, listen. All together. Well done, here we go, have a listen. The next one, Yirupa, the dingo, it's our voice.
From Sydney, you need to jump on a plane for 3 hours to Cairns. You need to take a car and drive to Port Douglas. You then need to go left towards Cooktown, up over the hills. So there's a highway that you can take to get up to either Dunagar or to Woodjall. Mum spoke to Dad, and Dad said that his father was still living at Woodjall on the community up in northern Queensland. And so my mum and my stepdad and Pauline travelled back to northern Queensland and met with my grandfather for the first time. And when I met my grandfather for the first time, it really rocked my world, because while I knew that my dad was Aboriginal, I certainly didn't expect my grandfather to look like what he did, because obviously I've got white skin, you know, and so I didn't expect my father or my family to be any, you know, too much darker than what I was anyway. And when my grandfather walked into that meeting room that morning, it's a feeling I'll never forget, because I was shocked. I was, you know, my grandfather was black. He was almost like that purple black color, and he looked like a caveman, you know, like, and so I was really like, you know, what the hell is going on? How can this be my grandfather? You know, I said, how can you be my grandfather? Because you're black and I'm white. And my grandfather, he said, you know what? You can take someone's color away, but you can't take their culture away. And I'm going to take you back to home, and you're going to find out about that. And I guess when my grandfather said that to me, I realized that this man didn't know me, but he was willing to take me into his family and love me as if I'd always been in his family. So I guess, you know, from the time I met my grandfather, we had a very close relationship.
Thank you. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of how the didgeridoo was traditionally used to tell a story, and still can be used to tell the story when we lift the sound through modern music.
The thing that I was most scared about was, am I going to be accepted because I'm white? You know, because my mum's white and I've got white skin, and everyone up there is very dark, you know. And from the moment I arrived at Wudjil, I was never ever once judged for being of mixed race. You know, when I stepped out of that car with my grandfather and stood at Wudjil there, it felt like home. The first night was great. It was sort of like everyone was sort of like pretty intrigued and asked questions. The next day, my grandfather made me put all my stuff that I'd brought up there in my auntie's house in our gunya, and my grandfather said, the next 4 weeks it's just going to be you and me, and we walked off into the Gokwayalanji country, and he taught me language, he taught me life, he taught me appreciation, he taught me respect, he taught me, you know, the music, he taught me to sing the songs, he taught me to play didgeridoo. He pretty much gave me a total appreciation of life that I'd never had before. That rocked my world. It was probably one of the hardest days of my life, because the man who had, I guess, influenced me the most in my life, and I'd only had such a short amount of time with him, had gone. And there was still so much for me that I thought that I had to learn, and that I thought that without him I probably wouldn't be able to learn it. And my auntie really said that my grandfather died because he knew that his story and his culture would live on.
The word didgeridoo in fact derives from two words from the Irish Gaelic language, where the word didgeray or didgery was a pipe player, someone playing the pipes, and the word dove or do simply means black. My father's language, we only know the instrument as yigga yigga.
I've got two beautiful boys, one's at 1 at 4, that will grow up with a good understanding of and pride of Aboriginal culture. I want to take you know, my community to the world. I want people to see, you know what life is like for us still in this modern world that we're living in. We still have a lot of our traditional life. You know, the more aware people can get of how beautiful our culture is, the easier life is going to be for us. So I mean, future is bright.